Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Hey, if you lost a little gray and purple flower off a sweater or something, I found it, and I'll leave it right there for you to reclaim. I don't know who it belongs to, but it's really cute. So happy Mother's Day. I'm Reverend C.C. Coltrane, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Dayton. If you're here for the very first time, a special welcome to you, and thanks for spending your morning with us. On your bulletin is a little tear-off strip where you can give us your name and email address especially, so that we can let you know what's coming up around here. We won't abuse your email address at all. We send out every Wednesday a little spiritual midweek pick-me-up that you would be put on the list for, and occasionally we let you know of a really special event coming up. You can fill that out and take it to the Welcome Center after the service. They have more information and will answer any questions you might have, etc. over there. Our pulpit assistant this morning is Lana Mayhew. Our vigil holder is Jerry Blumgold. And our interfaith candle lighting will be done by Stephanie Stewart and Linda Andriaco. We do this interfaith candle lighting because we honor and draw from all of the world's religious and spiritual traditions. So it's sort of a recognition of all the wells that bubble up from that font of eternal wisdom. Right now, we're going to sing to our kids, but we want our kids to stay in their seats until the end. If our teachers for the day will just hang out over here so the kids can find you when we're through with our song. Parents, we'd actually urge you to look at your kids and sing this song to them. It's called You Are.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
In the back already. Oftentimes let them come sit out here. They go back and shoot the breeze with each other. So you are welcome to go back if you're brave. Oh, there they are. There's one of them. She's running back now. I'm going to go back. I'll pull back. The first candle is lit in honor of Judaism. Behold, I give you a wise and discerning mind, so that none like you has been before you, and none like you shall arise after you. The second candle is lit in honor of Christianity. Let each one test his own work, and then his reason to boast will be in himself alone, and not in his neighbor. The third candle is lit in honor of Hinduism. The Hindu scriptures say that two things are needed for any kind of creative activity: consciousness and energy. Consciousness is worshipped in the form of Shiva, and energy in the form of the Divine Mother, Shakti. The initial creative inspiration, the effort to give it form, and the end result, all are seen as being the grace of the divine. The fourth candle is lit in honor of Islam. Allah has granted human beings with the capacity to create and has left it for them to develop. The The fifth candle is lit in honor of Taoism. Give birth to and nourish all things without desiring to possess them. Give of yourself without expecting something in return. Assist people, but do not attempt to control them. This is how to realize the deep virtue of the universe. The sixth candle is lit in honor of Sikhism. Created in God's own image, every human being is creative, for life itself has been created as a self-renewing, self-sustaining, creative process. And the final candle is lit in honor of Buddhism. All experiences are preceded by mind, having mind as their master, created by mind.
The reading today by Ernest Holmes. The person who dares to fling their thought out into universal intelligence with the assurance of one who realizes their divine nature in its relations to the universe and dares to claim all there is will find an ever creative good at hand to aid them. To the soul that knows its own divinity, all else must gravitate. Let us then enlarge our thought processes and dare to think in universal terms. Let us dare to believe that every constructive word is invincible. So if you can just take these words into that sacred place for a few minutes for contemplation. So how good it is to know that right where I stand, this is the expression of peace, expression of power, expression of God through us, as us, and around us in every single place, every single day, all the time. We are absolutely anchored in this divinity. It is imbued and ingrained within our soul, knowing that it is absolute, is the only power in this universe. And so I know it's that same power that is orchestrating the service today with our band, with Reverend Cece and the Children's Church. I know that we just are celebrating that spirit within us, that divinity that is what is at the core of our being. And so I say, thank you, God. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Kenny's got to do double duty today because our Sandman is
At the hospital.
at the hospital with his mother. Yeah. That's never good, but not, especially not on Mother's Day. You know, it is Mother's Day. Let's stop and think for just a moment about the amazing creativity of mothers and mothering. You know, that energy that is generative and also maintains. You know, we as a species are not capable of taking care of ourselves when we're born, so mothering does that for us. It's pretty remarkable stuff. It's an enormous creative power, and sometimes we forget that we wouldn't be here without it. None of us would be here without it, and sometimes we just kind of take it for granted. So no matter where your mother is, and this plane of existence or gone, somewhere else, stop and give her a thank you for creating and maintaining you until you could maintain yourself and tap into your own creativity. I don't have children, and sometimes I deeply regret that. I chose not to have children because I was very, very afraid that I would not be a successful parent, and given the circumstances, I was probably right. But I spent way too much time in bars in those days, and but I've realized since then that fear of failure in most cases, is not a good reason not to try something. Do you know what I mean? I didn't dare try because I was afraid of failure, and I think a lot of us can relate to that. I think a lot of us, we get stopped by doing anything bigger than we've already done because we're afraid we're going to fail, and we're afraid somebody's going to see us failing. That's the really big one. Someone might see us fail. There's a story that I love that I'm going to share with you in a minute that's about this. We let fear of failure stop us from doing many little things, and sometimes some really big things that we want to do. So the story comes from Athabascan legend. The Athabascans are tribes in Alaska, and some of them get way far up in the polar regions, but they're nomads. They hunt and fish and move from place to place seasonally in order to get enough food. And there was a section of this tribe, a particular group of this tribe called the Gwich'in, and they wandered near the Yukon River and the Porcupine River and the tributaries of those rivers. And one year they didn't have any food stored, and winter was coming, and it was looking ferocious. And so the elder of the tribe decided in his wisdom that what they would do is leave 2 old women behind in the snow so they didn't have to feed them. Not very nice. He thought it was an eminently practical thing to do because there wasn't enough food. But these 2 women, their names were Sa and Chidzigyak. Try and say that fast 3 times. Sa and Chidzigyak were dumbfounded. They were terrified, and they sat there in the snow, gobsmacked basically. And before they moved on, Chidzigyak's daughter gave her 1 untanned moose skin, and her grandson hid his stone hatchet, which he had to hide because it was the symbol of his manhood. And the chief would have been very upset with him if he'd gotten caught leaving it behind. But he hid that for his grandmother. And then the tribe just left them. Well, at first these 2 women sat in silence and panicked. And then they decided it was better to die trying to survive than just to die silently. And so Sa tried all sorts of things and ways, but finally she was able to kill a squirrel with the stone hatchet. And they made a broth and drank the broth and gained some strength. And then they made some simple rabbit traps out of sticks and bark. And they didn't work because the rabbits would just chew through the bark and run free. And so they strengthened them, and they soaked the bark and so that it would shrink a little and tighten up. And they set them again. And on the 3rd day they woke, and there were 2 rabbits in their traps. And so they decided pretty soon that they would move somewhere where they might find bigger game. And they made snowshoes out of sticks and strips of the rabbit pelt, of the rabbit skin, and left where they were. And eventually they found a river where their tribe had been successful fishing in the past. And on the way, each night they dug a snow shelter and put the moose hide on top of it to stay warm. And they tried to keep the embers of their fire, because building a fire in winter is hard. You have to put in a whole lot more energy to get that spark than you would in the summer when the wood is dry, for one thing, but it's also colder. So they tried to figure out a way to carry this ember so they wouldn't have to do this every single morning. And they tried several things, and they kept coming, they'd get to the end of the day and the coals would be dead. Finally, they decided to try a section of a hollow, heavy log, and they put some embers in that and carried it, and it worked. And they had embers at the end of the day to start their fire again that night. And eventually they got to this river and set up winter camp, and they were able, with their creativity, to build traps that were big enough to get muskrat and beaver, and they smoked that meat. And when the spring and summer came, they caught lots of fish and dried it and stored food. And the next winter, their tribe came back. the tribe came back into the area, and the leader said they must have survived because I can't find any sign of them. And he thought, wow, if we can find our grandmothers, maybe the tribe will have a renewed sense of survival, because the tribe had had a really rough winter and not such a great spring and summer. They were hungry. They were hungry. So the leader sent one of his trackers and a couple of hunters to locate the women. And the tracker picked up the scent of their smoke, because their fire never went out, and tracked them down. And the two women, of course, were a little bit chagrined. Wait, you left us in the snow to die, and now you're coming around. What's this about? The tracker kept saying, I promise what we want is peace with you. We made a mistake, and what we want is peace with you. And eventually, they decided he was honest, so they gave the tracker and hunters food to take back to the tribe. And they thought about it and said, you know, that was a rotten thing that they did, but we miss our families very much. We are lonely for our group, our people. So in spite of their deep mistrust, their hearts started to soften a little bit. And soon Chidzigyak's grandson came to visit. And eventually her daughter came as well. And slowly Sa and Chidzigyak returned to life with the tribe. And the Gwich'in learned never to leave their elderly behind, and they will never think about doing that again. They were saved by the creativity of these two old women that they had discarded. So that's the story. You know, there's so much in there. The first thing is that these two women found themselves in some pretty dire circumstances, but they did not let fear and panic overwhelm them. They got creative. They got creative, and they dared to try to survive, even though, you know, they were left behind as useless. They dared to try to survive, and they tried something and it didn't work. When that happened, they didn't lie down in the snow and give up. They tried something else. They tried a new thing. They dared to think they could survive, and they dared then to think they might thrive. And they started to thrive, and they dared in the end to re-engage in relationships with people whose lives they had saved. There's a lot of courage there and a lot of creativity that they showed. Maybe that's the most important part of the story, is that, you know, in extremity, these two women had to use their creativity to find ways of doing things. And the process, because this is how creativity works, meant they failed. So they tried something new, and they failed again. And they tried something new, and then they failed the third time, and they just kept trying new things until they found one that works. Most of us, if we dare try something new in the beginning, if it doesn't work, we quit, right? We say, well, that didn't work, so I'm not trying that. I'm not going to do anything further here. Some of us don't dare use our creativity even when we're in dire circumstances. But I have to tell you something. It is not possible not to be creative. We are all creative all the time. All the time. I mean, we have this, we're made in the image and likeness of Spirit, God, the most creative power of the universe. It is the creative universe that molded the planets and the universe and everything in it, and it flows through all of that all the time. So it's flowing into us and through us and out into the world by means of us all the time. We're creating whether we want to admit it or not. And there is also this bigger voice, this soul voice in us that's kind of like tugging at our hair, saying, be bigger. Be greater. Be all that you came here to be. Don't settle for only being part of it. Don't settle for being hidden. Step into your own greatness. And it's sort of like, you know, all the time. It's always at us to be all that we came here to be. But fear stops us. And as I said a few minutes ago, it's not fear of failure, it's fear that people will see our failure. But those people only exist in us. They're not real, they exist in our own minds. A lot of times they have the voice of our parents or our grandparents or our teachers or our bullies. And those voices stop us. At least not in this community. Nobody's going to they're not going to notice a failure. They're going to cheer the daring to try. And that's why we hang out together, right? We support each other in that. But if we look at people who are wildly successful, what you notice is they didn't just try one time and hit the jackpot. We have this magical idea that we get just the right idea and we try it and we'll be instantly successful. Did you ever learn to ride a bicycle? Did you ever do it perfectly or ski from the very first time? Of course not. We fall down, right? Life is a lot like that. I read an article a while ago that I just loved. It's about a graduate school business graduate school seminar. And the professor had a particular thing he wanted to teach the students, and so he divided them into two groups. And he said to the one group, this quarter you're going to be making pottery. And I want you to study and work and make the very best pot you can. And your whole grade will be determined by that single pot. And he told the other group, this quarter you're going to study pottery. And I want you to make as many pots as you possibly can during the term. So the first group went off to museums and to great potters, and they read books and they looked at lots of pots, and then they came back and tried to create their one magnificent pot. The other group rolled up their sleeves and started throwing pots as fast as they could, and more and more and more. And it turns out that the best pots came from the second group, the ones who made the most pots. Because every pot they threw, they learned about a mistake, a failure that they had made, and they figured out how not to do it the next time, and their pots got better and better and better. That's how it works, right? Many failures along the way. And that's what the professor wanted them to know, is that you learn by every mistake you make. You learn by every so-called failure how to let your creativity out a little bit better. Orville and Wilbur Wright, our guys, right? They tried hundreds of times before they were ever successful. They started with kites, which mostly crashed and burned. And then they started with airplane-sized kites, which crashed and burned. And then they built gliders. The first two crashed and burned. There's a lot of crashing and burning with those guys, I'm telling you. The third one actually worked. And they made 700 test flights with it, tinkering the whole time, correcting their mistakes. And then they put an engine on it, and eventually they flew that powered, manned aircraft at Kitty Hawk 3 times. And then the wind picked it up and blew it over. So they built another one. They kept building flying machines and working with the whole idea for as long as it took for them to be successful. And of course, now we know how successful they were. We have, manned space flight, let alone you can get anywhere on an airplane these days. So what do we have to do to give up our fear of being seen to have failed? Because I don't think it's the failing, I think it's that people will see me fail. One part of it is realizing that the only person who cares is us. Even if people see us fail, unless they're really, really in pain themselves, in which case we have to have a lot of compassion for them. But they're not going to laugh, Most people are going to say, that was a great try, what'd you learn? People who love us will say that. And if we say that to ourselves, woo, that was a really good try. What can I do better next time? What an amazing change that would be. We could also surrender our fear to that eternally creative God that is all around us, always. We can put that fear in the dustbin of mistaken ideas, because it really is a mistaken idea. We could realize that nobody's judging us but ourselves. There's a great, I can't even remember who said it. There's a great little poem about the people who sit on the sidelines and make proclamations. And, you know, the whole point is I don't listen to them. I listen to the man who's on the field playing the game. That's the person who knows what I'm up against, right? If we just figure we can sit on the sidelines, nothing will ever change. But if we get on the field and start playing the game, we get better and better and better at it. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, reminded us that we're dealing with a power, God, which is itself limitless. We limit it, and so it cannot become to us the bigger thing. Things are as big as we make them, no more, no less. Everything is limitless, and we must see the truth that the fault is not with God, but with man. Dare, he said, dare, dare. The bigger we make this idea of God within us and around us and eternally available, the bigger our lives become. The more we lean into that, the more we dare to take a bigger step. So why not stop making fear the big thing and start making experimentation the big thing? We try it, see how well it works, try something else. See how well that works. As we dare to experiment, we learn to use this creative flow that's always moving through us better and better and better. And we get closer and closer to what to do by realizing what not to do. And that's okay. That's okay. Fear of failure holds us back from taking a class, going skydiving, asking somebody out on a date. Whatever it is. Fear of failure holds us back from tackling new challenges and meeting new people and learning new skills, becoming what we were created to be. All of it. All of it. Creative confidence, which we started to talk about last week, is learning that failure is part and parcel of success. It is part and parcel of success. You know, we learn from failure and we gain strength in our abilities. Creative confidence is that wind that tugs at our hair and says, did you ever think of trying this? Did you ever think of trying that? It is the impulse of that still small voice that says, you want to help people? Move in this direction. What's the direction of your heart? You want a better job? Move in this direction. You want better health? How about this? Try this. When we dare to let go of the fear and try, then every try is a move forward. Through the setbacks, not despite of them. Not in spite of them. Because every misstep is actually a step forward. The Buddha once said, no step on the spiritual path is ever wasted. No step. Because even a backward step is a movement in the right direction. We're going back to learn again what we don't know so well. A sidestep is a step in the right direction. A change, a new idea is a step in the right direction. So what if our parents, out of fear, the same fear I had chosen not to create us? None of us would be here with our creativity and our fear, with our magnificence and our weakness, with our failure and our brilliant success. We just wouldn't be here. Period. So thank your mother today. Thank your mother wherever she is for her courage. For her courage in saying yes. For daring to bring you into the world. And for being the vehicle that allows Spirit to express as you. And feel that wind in your hair. Feel that little tug that says, try something new, try something bigger. Something that feels like it'll move you in the direction you want to go. Don't limit you by being afraid that someone's going to see you fail. As I say, if you do it around here, we will all cheer you on. Will we not?
Yes.
We will say, fabulous try. And what did you learn? Failure paves the path to success. So dare to try, dare to fail, dare to succeed. That's a whole nother sermon right there, that dare to succeed, because we're afraid of that too. Dare to succeed. Things are as big as we make them, so dare to dream big, dare to fail big, dare to succeed big. You are here to give the gift that only you can give to this world. None of us is like any other. One of our readings says, none like you has ever been up till this time, and no one like you will ever be hence. There's only you. So give that gift, the gift of you. Give it as big and as bold as you can make it. Dare to do that. Dare to succeed. And so join me as we simply unite in consciousness and take a big breath in and let the exhale just take away any worry or stress or tension. And allow your consciousness, your awareness to drop down into your heart. The heart that is the dwelling place of the soul. The divine fragment of each one of us that links the human and the spirit. That links the finite and the infinite. That links the temporal and the eternal. Right there, as close as your heartbeat. There is a consciousness there of infinite space, of intimate space. There is a consciousness there of a still small voice that reminds us we are the beloved of God. There is an urge there to expand, to say yes to whatever it is that is tugging at our hair. To try something new and different and bold. Everything from a new outfit to a new relationship to a new job to a whole new life. As we allow our awareness of God, of Spirit, of the universe to grow, that voice becomes clearer and clearer and clearer, guiding us to become all that we came here to be, guiding us to love all the world with an absolutely open heart, guiding us to become transparent to Spirit, and to act with all the love in our being, and all the wisdom, and all the joy, and all the intelligence that flows from the universe into us. And we, in turn, dispense it into the world. How grateful I am to know this about this community and everyone in it. How grateful I am to remember that there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is our life now. How grateful I am. And in gratitude, I simply release these words. For I know that Spirit always says yes. It's already done. And so I say thank you. And I let it be. And we say together, and so it is. We now have an opportunity to give an offering in support of the work of the center. If our ushers will come forward, please. I'm going to sing a new song today. It's called I Am Prosperous. It's so simple you'll pick it right up. It's really just one line. But first, let's remember that we are the children of an abundant God. You know, what happens around here is that we discover our source, we discover ourself, and we discover the joy of community, and our lives change in dramatic ways. And The only reason that happens is because you give your gifts and offerings and support, and that makes it possible. So I'm so, so grateful. Will you please take your gift or offering in your hand or your heart and affirm with me? I am joyful.
I am joyful.
I am free.
I am free.
I am grateful.
I am grateful.
I give with gratitude.
I give with gratitude.
And I say yes
And I say yes
to all that life has to offer.
to all that life has to offer.
And so in that song, that every time I hear it, I think, 25, how'd they get so lucky? I struggled around with that, beat my head against the wall for 20 more years after that. Yep, we know where you're working.
I'm still.
I have a couple of announcements, and some other people have some announcements, and we'll try to make it as quick as we can. The first one is that I want to remind you that we're now welcoming your applications, your sign-ups for home groups. There's a stack of applications over on the end of the table. We're calling them sacred circles. If you haven't considered signing up, I want to tell you what being part of a small group has done for me. I was very hesitant, thinking I was too busy, I had enough people in my life, all that kind of stuff. But it has truly been wondrous. My small group's given me a place to be real and vulnerable, and a place to be held accountable for my life. And the people there hold me with absolute love, but they also tell me, remind me that, I'm usually the one creating my difficulties. And so they do that in a really loving way and let me grow in order to not create those same old difficulties again. It's given me more opportunities for spiritual growth than I can count. It's also given me a deep companionship for the journey. Love, support, intimate friendship. I cannot recommend a small group to you highly enough. It's a precious experience to me, and one that I really want you to have too. So pick up an application over on the table and fill it out and return it to us. Our due date is May 28th, and we'll get you into a small group where you can develop these relationships and receive these things that I've mentioned. The groups are forming and will start meeting in June. So make sure you get into this first round of small group development, because it will grow from there. It's an amazing experience, so give it to yourself. Let's see, Mark Fowler and Kelly O'Keefe, I say, have an announcements about the picnic, right? Who wants the mic?
Good morning. We need your help. We need you to pray or just give great wishes for wonderful weather next week, because we're going to have a picnic. And we're going to provide the food, and we're going to have the picnic sun or rain. So be prepared to come inside if it's raining. But we will have it whatever the weather is next week. We're going to have the meats will be provided, and veggie burgers and buns and condiments. We'll have activities for the young kids, the old kids, and everybody in between. And so just show up, come and have some fun and some fellowship and some food. And something to share. Yeah, we'll have volleyball, I know, and some face painting for the kids and several other things. And I think, Gary, you wanted to talk about volleyball.
Oh boy, the killer. Okay, all right. Who are the volleyball players here? Anybody? Any wannabes? Anybody want to try it out for the first time, like Reverend Cece talked about? Well, here's an opportunity. Here's the call, the official call. So in conjunction with the picnic, we're going to have volleyball. So whether you're 5 or 96, it doesn't matter. No experience is necessary. We will have fun. Non-competitive, so be willing to try it out. Thank you.
And more fun, we're going to also do a drum circle. And so, like Reverend Cece was saying, we'll cheer you on. You don't have to have any skills. I have no skills whatsoever. But you can also, we'll have extra drums. You can also just shake a maraca. Do whatever you want to do. So if you have one, bring it. If you don't, we'll have it. And if it rains out, we'll be in the back or something. So join us for that.
Is that the same day?
Yeah, same
Yes,
day,
right after the
1
picnic.
After people eat about 1 p.m. Yeah.
There should be a sign-up sheet over there, I hope there is, for stuff to bring.
Well, people just bring
Oh,
whatever.
just bring whatever, dessert, side, salad, whatever you want to bring.
Yeah,
As Mark said, the meat and veggie burgers and buns and condiments will be provided, so.
and drinks too. will
And
be
drinks.
provided.
So bring something to share and hang out for a while. We always have a really good time, even if we do pull inside. We have a drum circle here every week, and they meet no matter what the weather. So we'll get it all done. Maybe not the indoor volleyball, but everything else. Everything else. If you are new or newish, I want to invite you especially to mark your calendar for June 11th after service. It'll be our first Rap with the Rev. This is going to become an integral part of our month around here. We'll share some food and talk about what you want from this center and this community. Noon to 1, Sunday, June 11th, and I'll keep announcing that, but I just wanted to put it out there beginning now. You can also see the last page of your bulletin that's marked calendar for all the things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. If you'd like prayer after service, our licensed practitioners are wearing this. It's either teal or white, depending on which side they have out. You can just walk up to them and ask them for prayer, and they will find a quiet corner with you. They're all very good at knowing the spiritual truth and speaking it for you, even when you can't quite find it. So it's their gift to you on Sunday, a 1-minute miracle. There's also a prayer chest back by the door if you'd like to put a written prayer request in there. Moms and whoever else wants some.
Can I tell them?
Yes, Kathy will tell you about this.
I don't need that good. For all the moms here and the ladies, we had a special request for candy this year because they saw the Father's Day candy and went, hey. So, in one tub that actually has the little sign up behind it, those are all nut products, so if you're allergic to them, there's peanut butter, there's almonds, and there's peanuts. These are all M&Ms. In the other bin, it's all plain chocolates, dark chocolate, light chocolates. And take one home with you and enjoy. It's from the center's Hugs, Count and Close, and Welcome teams to you. We love you.
Thank you, Kathy. Mother's Day gifts of sweetness. It's always good.
Sweets for the sweet.
Okay, everybody, now for the first 3 minutes after service, don't talk to anybody you know well. Find somebody new, strike up a conversation, and don't forget to get at least 10 hugs before you leave. They're good for you. Hugging is good. Thanks to everybody who made this morning possible. Our hugs team, our ushers and greeters, our welcome team people, our practitioners, these amazing people here. Yay! Harmon Band! And all of you, thank you for being here. Have a great, great Mother's Day. Let's stand for our closing affirmation. Yeah. Yes, and our closing song, which is A Light in This World. Oh, but first, repeat after me. Today I dare to be bold.
Today I dare to be bold.
Boldly I take a step.
Boldly I take a step.
Knowing that I am moving toward my dreams.
Knowing that I am moving towards my dreams.
And so it is.
And so it is.